the primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI6 Podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Fiona Malone, welcome to AI6. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, introduce yourself to our listeners and to our viewers because they may not have come across you before.
Well, hello. My name is Fiona and I am a lecturer at Atlantic Technological University in Galway. I'm a biomedical engineer by trade, but I'm also a science communicator and I'm involved in the brand new Masters in Science Communication at ATU Galway. And I lecture a particular module of interest to you, Joanne, which is AI and emerging technologies in science communication, where we look at contemporary technologies that you'd come across in science communication. So, your podcasts, social media, any kind of media outputs like that. And we look at them in terms of the influence AI has on them with production, I suppose, and workflows, but also looking at it under a lens of scrutiny in the way and the role that AI plays in things like misinformation, disinformation, and I suppose the lack of trust that we find ourselves going forward in Generation AI with science and scientific institutions themselves.
And some people listening to this, especially from the research or science community, might feel that AI is a friend or AI is a foe. And when you put, science and AI in the one sentence, it is almost like that balancing act. But it's a really exciting master's. And when I met you and learned what you were doing, I was like, you need to come on the podcast. This is definitely off its time. And these are the skills that your students need to learn and also embrace, right? So as a forward-thinking institution, as a forward-thinking academic, do you think AI is a friend or a foe?
It's a tricky one. And particularly right now with the Masters in Science Communication, it's about embracing it at the moment because that is the nature of the science communication field. I do say to my students a lot of the time that one of the biggest issues we're facing is mistrust, and we can't fight the good fight if we don't particularly understand, AI itself. Does that make sense? And its role that it plays in misinformation. And as an academic, it's a kind of a double-edged sword because we're also fighting the issue of authentic assessment and academic integrity in this world of AI and just being a student in 2026. And with the Masters in Science Communication, obviously the target audience is at that level 9 level. But I'm really thinking and feel for students coming in at an undergraduate level and the way academic integrity is of question right now at third level in particular. And I suppose I can only speak on the experiences I'm having right now myself, but with AI and emerging technology in that module that I'm working with now and the students that you met there, I'm trying to move away from like a reactive detection type of use with AI and instead use it as a more of a teaching scaffold for the students. And we developed what we call an academic integrity appendix. So students are transparent with me in terms of the model they use. So we use Copilot quite a bit, Microsoft Copilot, because that's what's available to them in their Microsoft package. And they are transparent about the model they use, any prompting that they're using, the outputs of those prompts, and then how they critically reflect and analyze that. And that's really, I suppose, what you saw on the day in the podcast, as well as not just using it, but being critical of it and evaluating it. And I suppose what that has led to is I was awarded a Learning, Teaching and Assessment Investigator Award with AI. So going forward, I suppose, working over the summer and in September is maybe creating a blueprint that other lecturers and other module leaders may use to support their own modules and programs going forward, particularly those modules where text-based outputs, they're really vulnerable at the moment, and maybe just offering an opposite or a different idea towards those assessments. But then as an engineer and as an academic within the scientific field itself and in engineering itself, like it's a nuanced problem. I teach really foundational and fundamental mathematics to engineers, and something like that then is maybe not appropriate. And I suppose I don't really know what the total answer right now is to that, but just to be aware of that going forward, and I suppose staying relevant and staying in tune with what's going on with AI and being aware of that to try and develop more authentic assessment, I think is what we need going forward.
I think this is one of the best answers to one of those biggest questions I've heard. Honestly, it is. And I'm because you looked at it from a number of perspectives, from emerging technologies, it's here, students learning, academic integrity, but also then how we lift up the bonnet and see where the technology is accelerating. And to your point, is not the perfect answer. There isn't a perfect answer. In order for us to get the perfect answer or solution, we have to lean in. And I think that's what you have done. You're leading by example and finding and testing those barriers. And I saw that. So the context of how you and I met was your students interviewed me about AI. A very extensive interview, might I add. A very extent. They put me on the spot, but the level of critical thinking, I said this to you afterwards, was unreal. They thought of questions as the conversation went on. And whenever that podcast is released, I'll hopefully play it on AI6 and
Oh,
link
that would
back
be
to you guys.
amazing.
But that is an example of how you can teach AI in a way that, mirrors the good principles and ethics of AI to develop critical thinking, because they had me on my toes right throughout it.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And it was probably, I suppose it's the engineer within me that I am probably inherently a problem solver. And then we've been kept on our toes as educators really since COVID. I mean, we're always kept on our toes with emerging technologies, but COVID was a really big issue. And that's when I went actually into full-time education in 2019. So my first year of full-time lecturing on top of all the other academic work I do was during COVID. So I feel like personally I've been firefighting since 2020. So I'm in the rhythm of trying to keep up to date with what's currently out there and to provide the best for our students. With science communication, I suppose on the other side of that as well, it is something that not everyone really knows what it is. We're really just trying to create better communicators to communicate science to public and people who are not front facing science all the time. And now with AI, and people getting their information from their pockets really, on their phone, that people can critically reflect and analyze, is the information true? Where is it coming from? And like we saw during COVID, that just concept of scientific research and scientific understanding, we saw there that it's probably a little bit it's probably at its most poor, I would hazard to say, from a general public population, global population. Our trust in science just isn't there, doesn't seem to be there anymore. So I think on a level for, what I do for my work, I want the best for the students, but inherently I feel it in myself as well, that it is important to not be afraid of this and to try and use it to our own advantages as science communicators, do you know?
Yeah. And like AI really falls into that module in that Masters in Science Communications, Emerging Technologies. But you did think there's a place for it right across the university. And I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of ATU, but just knowing what you know, do you think the knowledge that you have and the competency other peers would benefit from it?
I I do think about this quite a lot, and the way I see it as an academic, a researcher, it's probably another AI literacy is another tool that we need to have in our toolkits, in our toolboxes. And I know our toolboxes are getting pretty full. I know it's a lot of work, but I do think it's important going forward, and I think it's something that students of all ages and all levels, every day is a school day. I think it is something that we are meeting head on now, and we need to be literate in it. We don't have to love it, we don't have to hate it, but it's there. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And how do you keep up with how AI is changing and the news, the views, and the model updates? Because how it accelerates. I was even just teaching somebody visualization on Claude, and I went, wait a minute, this is better than 7 days ago when I did this task.
Crazy. And it's crazy. And every day I meet the students, I'm learning from them as much as they're learning from me, because there's only so much you can do. And we're constantly stretched to the limit as educators, whatever level you're at, primary, secondary, tertiary, third level. The way I try and keep up with it is if there's any availability within our institution or within our fields, if they're doing talks and things on AI, I'm interested. So I'll sign up and I'll go to them. I find podcasts like this really, really helpful. I'm mother to a nearly 21-month-old at the moment. So any kind of snippets of information I can keep up to date with, I will. Some of the best conversations I have with the students, though, are the ones that we don't inherently have the answer to. Students come from all different backgrounds. You've some working in science communication and looking to gain a qualification that. You've some working in policy. You've some working particularly in the sustainability and climate fields, because they really, really need to better understand science communication skills in order to save the world, I guess, in this case. But there's always then those ethical considerations with AI and data centers and all that kind of thing that's in the news as well. And really, like you alluded to, the critical thinking, the critical understanding, the questioning of it, to me, that's the scientific methodology as is. Question everything and try and apply what you understand to be true.
And as a natural problem solver, do you think the issues created by these AI revolution can be solved by AI itself?
That's interesting. I'm attending a conference this week about sort of the human element within AI for STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. And I think it requires human. It needs us. AI only knows what AI only knows, whereas we are the lived human experience. And I think sometimes by creating boundaries and constraints on yourself, the most creative ideas can flourish. So for me, I see a lot of work in the startup companies, particularly in Galway. Some companies are really being quite effective in the area of sustainability and climate change under that AI umbrella. And there's people out there actively solving the problems. And it's just to give them a platform and a bit of support with that. I think if I can play any small part in that, I will.
And so we also talk about the fear of job replacement, job augmentation. But in your field or in your area, what new jobs do you think will be created because of AI? And you mentioned the startup community, and we've got a great ecosystem here in the west of Ireland.
We really do. And those are the key problems, in terms of the sustainability of our AI use, and obviously data centers and things like that are driving that. And as engineers, there'll always be roles for those people that want to solve those problems. A particular company I'm thinking of right now is Glenua out in Loughrea. They're trying to work with that idea or the problem of water usage with data centers. And I know we talk a lot about the negativity with that, but with that, as a science communicator, it would be remiss of me to not mention those people that are actively working on that.
Yeah.
And in a time where everything is very negative and we have a lot of negative commentary on our social existence on this planet, there is a lot of people doing quite a lot of good as well. And I think it's very important to talk about that. In terms of jobs with AI, there's definitely newer roles on the manufacturing scene and the people that would monitor the AI. And as communicators and science communicators, it's all about, the fact-checking work of AI. And in terms of a policy level, there's so much work there to be done in legislation and governing it. And then, like we mentioned, data literacy for, again, communicators or anyone interested in outreach, getting into the schools, getting into the public and creating literacy events is really important. And I think the key to those is working with the arts and humanities, which is what we try to do with the MSc here in ATU as well, where we're using and getting the support of the arts and humanities and event management people in order to create such authentic, engaging events that people will think about for a long time and, get them to really think and question. For example, what role does AI have in their lives?
Well, as an arts and humanities graduate, I am so glad. And actually, there's a theme emerging that in the age of AI, we need communicators, and that is one of the most sought after skills. And actually, I was reading an article over the weekend where the AI model companies, the handful of them that we know, they're actually hiring journalists
There you
and
go.
writers to train the models to be better communicators, because we know by and large they're still underperforming. So I agree, we'll always need humans and there will be new disciplines created. What are some of your favorite AI tools? And you can be as nerdy as you want, but do you have a preference? I understand that you have to, in a work environment, you're operating in Copilot,
Yes.
Microsoft. Yeah.
And I think I was thinking about this, and I think my favorite one actually is I've realized what kind of learner I am. And like I said, new working mom, my time is of the essence. I actually quite like the audio podcast feature in something like Google LM or Notebook LM. I feel I can take information a little bit better in that way. So I quite like that. And I like the infographic visualization tool as well. You see it more and more coming up when I attend conferences and presentations and things like that. You see it, and people are referencing it and they're saying, look, this is what I used, but this is what's capturing the data in a much kind of, I suppose, more nuanced way if they want to get into the nitty gritty of whatever it is they're talking about. But I do like those tools. Not to get too nerdy. I don't think that was nerdy at all.
No, it's brilliant. I also love that tool. And I am an oral learner too. I used to be a broadcast journalist. So my trained audio ear. That's why I love podcasts. And again,
Yes,
I will run major industry reports through Notebook LM so that I can listen when I'm traveling or in the
this is it.
car.
Yeah,
And we are multitasking, and audio is very light, isn't it, on
it
the
is.
brain? So you can be cooking, cleaning, and feeding the child and learning at the same time.
Exactly. And I know there's probably colleagues of mine that would be saying, oh my God, like the day is busy enough. But I do have a genuine interest in it. And I guess returning to work this academic year was my first, probably full time academic year since having my little boy. And the overwhelm of content and the overwhelm of getting back into the lecture hall and the classroom and teaching, I have to say AI was quite helpful in condensing and streamlining my workflow. Because again, as an engineer, I do like things that are leaned out and optimized. And yeah, on the days that for scheduling reasons or whatever, and things aren't firing on all cylinders, it was quite helpful, I would have to say.
Yeah, it is. It's a real gift in terms of workflow streamlining,
I think
and
so.
it really is bringing lean to all organizations, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's look ahead, and nobody has a crystal ball when it comes to AI, because 12 months is a long time. But let's go to the end of the decade. It's 2030. I mean, what will your students be doing? Where will you be? What sort of futuristic AI created or AI enabled work environments will we see?
I suppose looking at down that lens, what I see creeping into the science communication field, first of all, would be more AR and VR experiences, probably driven by AI tools. It's something that we've spoken about quite a bit, and there is a really good working group at ATU at the moment investigating the use of AI and VR environments to enhance learning. I saw an excellent talk there a few weeks ago. I think it was in the nursing department, and creating environments that nurses can practice particular, not so much the technical aspect, but that conversational
Mm.
aspect, and, in terms of patient safety and things like that. I thought that was really, really effective. And then in terms of engineering, I really think very much that idea of lean and business excellence and learning the tools that are being employed in industry with AI would probably have to be something that would need to be looked at in terms of the curriculum. I would think that's on a very basic level. I mean, we've seen how much change in the last year, so I'm probably being very cautious in what I'm suggesting, because I know how long it takes for things in education to take hold. And sometimes I think, myself included and my colleagues, it feels like there's a waterfall or an avalanche of information and things happening. But we are working, and instead of being reactive, like I said, it's nice to be proactive and try something different. But I suppose in a limited sense, that's what I see coming. What do you see?
Oh my God, I think I'll be just managing agents. I'm just still trying to remain relevant, Fiona, because I saw this train coming down the track years ago and said,
Cool.
nobody needs to hire you, Joanne, to write comm strategies because they have agents doing it. So yeah, I think it'll be definitely integrating applied AI into
Yeah.
organizations and streamlining it and ideating as humans, because we always have an idea. Every conversation sparks an idea. I think we will be spending more time ideating to solve the world's biggest problems.
I like that. I like that. And like I was saying earlier, using AI for listening to content and trying to get more information, it definitely freed up aspects of my life then or my work life, that I was able to maybe think about the problem of AI and authentic assessment within our workplace. And I think for education going forward and third level going forward, implementing robust practices and getting a bit of support there within that is really, really important, so that we can all move together and work together on this, because it's not going away.
Oh no, it's not. We need armies of people on the side of AI for good.
Exactly.
Well, Fiona Malone, ATU are very fortunate to have somebody who is leading the students and showing them the way with AI. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for giving your time to my students. And I know you're very busy, and I know you are doing so much in the world of the public sector and AI and everything like that. So I can't thank you enough for inspiring them to really critically view and look at AI under such a scrutiny lens, because they have to. And the particular students that were speaking to you really didn't want to talk about AI. They really didn't want to get involved with it at all. And to see the change in that, and again, they still have their personal views on AI and the ethical constraints involved with all of that. But having them on the side of proactive firefighting, I suppose, is really beneficial to everybody, I think.
Well, listen, continued success. Where can people go and find out more about you and your work, or if they want to connect with you?
We have an Instagram page for the Masters of Science in Science Communication, ATU SciComm. If you want to check it out, I think it's quite natural that the communication masters would have an Instagram page. And I'm probably linked up on the ATU Galway page anyway for the Masters in Science Communication, so you can check us out there as well. And yeah, that's about us. We will be running our inaugural science communication event this side of the big C word Christmas. So you can check out all the interesting work that they're going to be putting on there. We're going to get the students right out of their scientific heads and put them in with choreographers, comedians, musicians, and get them thinking a little bit differently about how to engage with the public. So if you want to come join the fun, check us out there.
Absolutely. First time Christmas has been mentioned in 2026 on the podcast.
This is terrible. My mother's going to kill me.
I could clip it out, but I won't. Fiona Malone, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, John.